The Disrupt Education vlog can be found on YouTube. To hear it in podcast form, search Disrupt Education on any of the following podcast platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Overcast, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or Stitcher. Welcome to this episode of Disrupt Education. We have a special guest today who has been recognized by Forbes 30 Under 30, People Magazine's Heroes Among Us, Luce's Young Global Leaders, and President Obama's Lifetime Achievement Award. Today he is the founder and CEO of Command Education. Christopher Rim, thank you so much for being with us today.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
Tell us a little bit about you and your educational journey.
Of course. So I went to public school my entire life until I got to college. And when I was in high school, I wasn't necessarily the best student. I mean, I had the majority of my grades were high A's, but I did have a few B's throughout the school year and throughout high school. And when I was going to apply to colleges, I was told by my guidance counselor and the college counselor at school that, Chris, there's no way you're going to get into a top school. You should think about just going to a local school in New Jersey, where I grew up, and to really keep it at that. And if I wanted to go to a top school, I could potentially look at that when I was looking at potential grad schools. I really didn't take their advice at all because it seemed like they didn't know what they were talking about. They were only concerned about my grades, nothing else about really my entire application. For example, my extracurriculars, what my essay was about, and so forth. So I ignored their advice, and I was actually the only student in my year to get accepted into Yale. And I beat out about a dozen or so other students who applied to Yale who had better grades, better test scores, including the valedictorian who applied.
So you're actually going right into my first question about education, and which is obviously a misconception through your route. But are grades enough? And what have you found then with some of your clients and or some of your colleagues about grades and the path that well, let's go to it. Are grades enough, or is that just kind of something that we can take a different kind of angle look on?
So I would say, grades are an important part of this process, an important part of high school, and also when applying to colleges. That your GPA is one of the first things that they'll consider. If your GPA is on the much lower end, the chance that you get into a top school won't be that high. But if you're doing pretty well, even if you don't have solid straight A's, you can still get into a top school, top Ivy League school, or top 10, top 20. But grades are just part of the process, I would have to say. There's a lot more to it.
Any hints on maybe some of the other things that go into that?
So I would say, really, when we're thinking about, let's say, if we're applying to a top school and we only focus on grades and potential test scores, whether it's the SAT, ACT, or the SAT 2 subject test, that just shows one side of a person. That does not really show who the student is, what kind of personality that they have, or really their characteristics, or who they really are, if they were able to kind of join the campus community, if they were accepted at whichever school that they're applying to. So when college admissions officers are evaluating a student, they're not just looking at grades because, for example, if Harvard or Yale want to accept an entire class of students with perfect scores, they could do that and fill an entire class 3, 4, 5 times over. They're looking for interesting students who can add value to the campus community, both inside and outside of the classroom.
How do you feel about equity in education and this thing we're defining as positive discrimination? Can you talk a little bit about what positive discrimination is? Because I think that's a newer term out here. And also, how does equity in education come into play in all of this?
So I would have to say, really this entire process, starting from elementary school, leading up to the college application process, is not fair. Because the high school you go to will pretty much dictate the opportunities you could have, right? And that's really depending on where you live. So if you're living in a low-income neighborhood, the chance of you going to a top high school, top public school, isn't that high. So already you're at a disadvantage. You probably won't have the teachers or the resources or the school supplies to succeed in the classroom. And if you can't do that, the chances of you applying or even knowing about the different application opportunities to get into these top schools are very limited. A lot of the students from lower income backgrounds might know of QuestBridge. There are so many students who I work with on a pro bono basis who have never heard of QuestBridge, for example. So I really feel like this is an unfair game, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do right now to change it. So I would say it is what it is, and we have to figure out slowly what are the different barriers that we can start eliminating so that we can make this a more accessible and more fair path into the best schools for our students.
Yeah, that was a kind of a wake-up call for me. One of my first jobs in the Chicagoland area was teaching in a low-income school, and the students who were just excelling were even telling me this, and I was like, wait, that can't be, as a young person 19 years ago coming into education. So what do you think is the one thing then in education, this whole system, maybe one or two, that you would change to not only make it more equitable, but basically make it more realistic or authentic, I should say?
Yeah, one of the first things I would actually do, and this is a long shot really, is kind of eliminating grades. There are some schools that I know of where they don't even have grades in high school. And I think those are the students that are really interested in, they're exploring their true interest and passion. That's what they're doing. They're not focused on whether or not they get an 89.9 or a 90 in their math class, you know? If you have an 89.9, you pretty much know the material, but on your transcript, it'll say a B+. Some teachers will round that up. Some teachers won't. So I really feel like that's unfair. And also with grades, I mean, if you're at the same high school, one teacher might be a much harsher grader than another student. And it's not a true reflection of how smart a student is. And that's the same thing for all these standardized tests, like the SAT, ACT, subject tests, and so forth, because there are curves. There's so many external factors at play that these grades and test scores are not a true or really accurate indication of how smart a student is or what their future would look like.
I think you just gave a bunch of my high school listeners a big cheer right there. I think they're going to be yes. So tell us a little bit about Command Education and where people can find you and what they can expect with this company.
I work with high school students pretty much starting in 9th grade, but we do have some students who really work with us starting in 7th or 8th grade to really make sure that they're going through the process and really taking advantage of all the resources out there. I would say when we're working with students, we're trying to help students identify their core interest or passion. A lot of times we'll see students trying to be well-rounded throughout high school, whether it's extracurriculars, sports, grades, volunteering, but that's not really what colleges are looking for. Colleges are looking for students who have that singular focus in one activity. They're not looking for a superstar athlete or that they're looking for, and someone who's the president of 5, 6 other clubs. They're looking for students who can actually demonstrate and show that this is what they're truly interested in right now and what their true passion is. And of course, that doesn't have to stay with them all throughout high school and all throughout college. It's just authentically pursuing your true interests and passions. So we help guide students and help them find internships, research opportunities, and making sure they're taking the most challenging courses that are the right fit for them, and of course helping them narrow down their college list, because a lot of times students don't know whether a school might fit into a safety school, match school, or a reach school. So we'll kind of guide them through that process, and of course helping students brainstorm different potential essay topics to write about. So we pretty much work with students from start to finish through all aspects of this process and advise them on the best ways that they can really stand out to admissions officers.
So where can people then find Command Education?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, commandeducation.com, you'll find a lot of information on our site. We update our blog a few times a week. It's very up to date. You'll find anything from really how you can potentially write a letter of continued interest if you were deferred from your school, to helping you figure out and kind of advise you on what types of courses you should be taking in high school, how you can find scholarship opportunities. There's just a whole bunch of resources that my entire team and I collectively put together on the site, and we really think that it's one of the highest quality blogs out there for students to kind of like look into in order to get that advantage when applying to top schools.
Last question, if you have a high school student who is a junior or senior in high school, one word of advice for them.
Wow, one word of advice would be, I mean, maybe I'll say don't stress. I know that's not one word, but I mean, this process is obviously stressful, but try not to really let it all get into your head. I really feel like if you're going through this process, you will get into the school you're meant to go to at the end of the day, so don't stress too much about it. Obviously, try your best. Things will happen the way that it's supposed to, and whichever school you go to, the chance of you actually liking the school and your community and your friends that you'll make there will potentially be the right fit. And a school would accept you for those reasons, and not just purely based on your grades. So don't think that you're less than someone because your friend might have gotten into a certain school and you didn't, or vice versa. The school does not determine who you are as a person.
Excellent advice. Christopher Rim, founder and CEO of Command Education, thank you so much for taking time of your day and being on our podcast. We really appreciate you here, and you're disrupting education.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time on Disrupt Education.